It's Mike Schellenberger, Schellenberger News. Let me say up front that I voted for Joe Biden. I thought he would bring moderation and peace to American political life. But as a journalist, I have an obligation to report the truth, and the truth is that President Biden and others in his administration have been lying about energy. This isn't something I had intended to look into, but then Biden's climate advisor, Gina McCarthy, called for big tech companies to censor critics of renewables. At that point, I started to pay attention.
The tech companies have to stop allowing specific individuals over and over again to spread disinformation. When Texas was having problems with their energy system and supply because of a freeze, their energy system shut down. And the first thing that we read in the paper was it was because of those wind turbines. Well, within seconds, if not hours, we had all kinds of information showing that that was clearly not the case.
But many, not all, of those criticisms of wind energy were factual. In fact, I testified to the United States Senate about this issue last year. I pointed out that investors over the last decade had spent over $53 billion on wind energy and other weather-dependent renewables. That wind energy was mostly not available during the cold snap in February of last year. Now, it's true that natural gas plants also froze over, but where a simple technical fix can make the natural gas plants run in the cold, the biggest problems in the Texas blackout were low wind speeds, and there's no technical fix to that. And so Gina McCarthy wasn't being completely accurate when she denied the role that wind energy played in the Texas power outage. All of that raised a question for me. If the Biden administration wasn't being completely honest about wind energy, what else might they not be completely honest about? Turned out to be quite a lot. On June 15th, President Biden accused oil refineries of deliberately restricting their refinery operations to make profit at the expense of the American people. But it turned out that the refineries were operating at 94% of their capacity, which is dangerously close to the maximum. To put that percentage in perspective, consider that the Chinese are operating their refineries at 64%. Now, to his credit, Biden on June 21st admitted that this was the case.
Look, we need more refining capacity.
But what Biden didn't admit is that on May 14th, his administration killed a proposal to expand an oil refinery in the U.S. Virgin Islands. And Biden went on to claim that American oil and gas companies are drilling enough.
This idea that they don't have oil to drill and to bring up is simply not true.
But it is true that oil and gas companies don't have enough oil to drill and bring up. And Biden either knew or should have known that, because on May 12th, his administration killed a proposal to expand oil and gas production in Alaska. Biden's Interior Department claimed that there wasn't oil industry interest in leasing the area, but Alaska Senator Lisa Murkowski said there was strong interest.
They submitted their comments, they submitted their interest, and it appears that those were not considered.
Biden's lie was similar to the lie that Biden's director of National Economic Council, Brian Deese, made on Fox News Sunday.
The Dallas Fed did an interesting study. They asked all of these energy executives, what is keeping you from doing this? 94% of them said something other than government regulations.
Deese was right that energy executives blamed factors other than government regulation, but he failed to note that they specifically blamed Biden for getting in the industry's way. And Deese failed to note that the main factor energy executives blamed was lack of investor confidence, which is a result of hostility from Biden. And Biden has indeed refused to cooperate with them.
I guarantee you, we're going to end fossil fuel, and I am not going to cooperate with them, okay?
After Biden sent the open letter to oil and gas executives falsely accusing them of refusing to refine more oil, there was a backlash.
It's going to be hard if he doesn't actually talk about a plan. He can't just wag his finger at the oil companies without a plan of what he expects them to come do.
Would any sane executive invest tens of billions of dollars into infrastructure that the president has said he's going to destroy?
In response, Biden invited the executives to a meeting at the White House, but Biden never attended the meeting. Instead, he attended a meeting with wind energy executives.
The detailed instructions were written for Biden for a meeting with wind industry executives. You enter the Roosevelt Room and say hello. You take your seat. You give brief comments. You thank participants. You depart.
Why does any of this matter? Because we are in a serious and seriously dangerous energy crisis due to the lack of energy. The crisis started before Russia invaded Ukraine in February of this year, but has gotten much worse since. The bottom line is this: we need to produce a lot more energy. But Biden doesn't want to do that because he wants us to transition to renewables.
We appreciate the issues related to climate and what we need to be doing. But what is happening in the state of Alaska is people are being driven out of their homes, driven out of their communities, and driven out of the state because of these policies that clearly appear to shut down energy production in a resource-rich state.
I agree, we need to move away from fossil fuels. That's why I'm a huge advocate of nuclear energy. I also think there's a role for solar panels and other renewables. I even have solar panels in my backyard. But we can't stop using fossil fuels overnight, or our entire civilization will grind to a halt. We live in a high-energy civilization. Just look around. Everything in your life requires energy, including watching this video. Over time, we need to move to zero-emission sources of energy like nuclear. In the meantime, we can make a lot of progress moving from coal to natural gas. Between 2005 and 2020, the United States reduced our carbon emissions by 22%. Nearly 2/3 of that was simply moving from coal to natural gas. Europe is in far worse shape than we are. They may have to ration energy supplies because Putin is curtailing energy supplies to punish Europe for supporting Ukraine in the war against Russia. But America is at risk too. This is partly because it is our obligation to help Europe with national security, and that includes sending them more energy when they need it. I take no pleasure in pointing out the ways in which Biden is lying to us, but when politicians lie, we have an obligation to point it out. That is especially true when the very same leaders are demanding that big tech companies start censoring people who are telling the truth about energy.
Frankly, the tech companies have to stop allowing specific individuals over and over again to spread disinformation.
I must confess that this experience has shaken my support for Biden. Let's hope that the last few weeks have been a bad mistake and that the Biden administration will stop lying about energy and start producing more of it. It's true that many, if not most, politicians lie, but it doesn't have to be that way. Let's hope Biden comes to realize that very soon. Thanks for listening.